that's a recursive short right there. That is how you're able to own more than just the 3 bananas that exist. This represents the total number of GME shares that exist. Oh man, I wanted to juggle these, but now I'm gonna have to deal with not having the tops of these bananas, so. 46.37 million. We're looking at the Fin report right here. GameStop has 70.77 million shares out there in the open. This is composite of the free float, the float that you guys are able to get, the bananas in the tree, and the bananas in the crates as well, the ones for institutional owners and insider owners. How many of those bananas are actually available to you? 46.37 million, right? There's that 70.77 million right there. 46.37 million available to own by apes like you guys. And we have a DD from Captain Cog. Give him a big ol' upvote because he wants you to know that Supersonic users alone hold between 27 million and 35 million shares. Okay, let's take a look. Too long didn't read. After doing 2 polls and comparing to another user's results, they estimate Supersonic users own between 27 million and 35 million shares of GME, right? So you guys just saw that 40 million mark there. We own, in this subreddit alone, somewhere between 60% to 70-80% of the float of the bananas that we should be able to own here. For Rima, I'm going to cover your super in just a second. As a reminder, if we can get up to 1,500 likes on this video, it would be pretty cool to be able to show more Moon Platoon members because the algorithm needs to be defeated and you are the one to defeat it. So let's watch until the end. This is their last post probably about the survey research they've done. Introduction. There has been many opportunities for short sellers to cover their short positions since January, and it has been speculated many times that this is the case. Publicly available data such as the SI percent also have predicted a decline from over 140% to around 20 to 40% recently. Adding to this, institutional ownership has been predicted to be 137% on current Bloomberg terminal updates. But as of yet, and remains to be a crucial variable, is that the retail ownership remains a mystery. It has been heavily speculated to be much greater than GME issued shares. This is due to, and we're going to have to do a little bit of drawing here on the whiteboard. Boop. We're going to be able to use our Webull chart as our whiteboard here. If you guys haven't gotten your 2 free stocks on Webull, by opening up a Webull account with the link in the description down below, that is a good way to be able to just get some free stonks. Okay, so we have the ability to look at recursive short selling, right? A short in itself is taking a share that belongs to A, passing it to B by borrowing it from A, and then selling it to B. This is a short. You immediately get the value of the stock at where it currently is. Let's say it's at $100. You immediately get that $100, and then you have to wait until the price of the stock is lower than 100 to cover, right? And that ideally would be to give the share back to A at market value, or there are other ways to go about this as well, such as taking it from the ether of cloud and shorting it from an imaginary set. This is usually used for good purposes, you know, using your powers for good. Creating a share out of nothing and then passing it on to B is a way to naked short. And you can even pass it from B to C. So that's a recursive short right there. That is how you're able to own more than just the 3 bananas that exist. You can have a whole mess of people, a platoon of people going to the moon that just own 3 shares. That's over 100% ownership of the float. Previously, they made a survey to estimate retail ownership. Since last time, they added another poll. The first poll was unsure of how accurate because of trolling. The 500 to 1,000 plus and plus 1,000 categories were. So they had to extrapolate the results to all of retail. So this is from survey data. You know, the runt of the litter when it comes to verifiable data from experimentation. However, survey data, right? Sometimes that's all you have. Here's the results. Respondents for each of these groups from 0 to 1,000 here, right? Not a lot of respondents. Overall, this is maybe like 1,000 plus people at the end of the day. Based on the bin sizes and ranges within them, the 11 to 15 bin had the highest representation. In the bins as a whole, the highest number of respondents had between 51 to 100 shares, with 31 to 50 being the next largest bin. Okay, this is quite interesting, juicy data here. Using the results of the bins, it appears that Superstonk users alone own 27 million to 35 million shares of GME, according to this survey data here. All right, average ownership of the Superstonk users is this number divided by 200,000 to this number that we said, this range here, divided by 200,000 is 135 to 179 shares a person. So that is on average how much a user has. As you normally know, there is disparity. There is a unfair advantage for some people who maybe really believe in the stock versus some people who either don't believe in the stock as much or don't have as much firepower to be able to invest in the stock. However, averages help us have a better understanding of where the highs are and where the lows are. Comparison to other studies here, you guys can read through yourself. The first question in your mind is, can't users just mess with the results here? That is what I would do. Polls are useless anyway. They would agree that it's possible. For example, in their 2 polls, the percentage of respondents for each group charged a maximum of 2% over each bin. For large bins, this doesn't affect the results very much, but over small bins with high underlying values, the 2% is a large change. However, the underlying findings remain the same for either poll and others represented by this other user. So it reduces the likelihood of tampering. Here are the methods again, so that you guys can check it out. At 1,500 users, the margin of error was calculated to be approximately 3%. And in terms of margins of errors go, especially this informal of a scientific survey, I would say that this is actually a fairly good data set to be able to at least peruse to see what people think out of this 1,600 user sample size. What I'm interested in is selective bias, right? I'm interested in reporting bias, as well as the most violent of all violence, which is narrative violence, right? You get to change the narrative based on the bins that you offer in the survey. So in that sense, you are structurally changing the way that a user is approaching your survey, and that could ultimately introduce bias as well. But here's the conclusion. They don't know what the overall retail ownership is, but from Superstonk users alone, it seems the free float is owned. Now, the question everyone wants to answer is, will this moon win? They don't know the answer to that either question, but considering that the remaining free float is predicted to be about 26 to 30 million-ish, and Superstonk alone owns that much, I think it's safe to assume GME is significantly oversold. What should you do? Well, we're not here to tell you what, but of course, if you have any comments and criticisms, they're all ears to them. Drop them in the comment in this DD or drop them in the comments down below. And if we have not quite gotten to that like counter, then drop a comment at which like you are. I want to thank all the people that made this show possible. The Moon Platoon, Gorillionaire, and the Meatball the Space Legend here. They made their badges in the live stream turn green and get little meatball coin badges because they pressed that join button next to the subscribe button, or they went over to Patreon and supported the show there. Thanks for getting the links down below. A quick looky-loo. All of them are a range of abilities to get you free stocks, free $50 on SoFi, or a free $250 of Bitcoin, and we'll see all of you in the money. No, really. Meatball has a banana in his mouth. Meatball, give me the... No. Give me this banana. Meatball, give me the banana. You know what? You can have it.